Hi, little knife review tonight. Picking up from the review I did a week or so ago on the Victorinox Swiss Champ. I thought I'd have a look at the Swiss tool, both the original version here and also the Spirit, and this is the Plus, which has the ratchet set and a few extra things in the back there. We'll look at that properly another day, but for this video I thought we'd have a look at the Swiss tool. So as opposed to the Swiss Champ, which I sort of described as being a Swiss Army knife with pliers, this is very much a plier based tool. So this is very much in the mould of your Leatherman or your Gerber, and that's really sort of the market segment this definitely fits within. Very similar sort of price point. This is coming in at around about 116 recommended retail, though I think I've seen them for about 75 if you shop around, so you can have them for a bargain price. Very familiar form, handles open outwards like that, exposing the sort of what I'd call the primary tool, which is full-size plier heads with wire strippers, wire cutters and gripping jaws, and then needle nose at the end there. The plier, very robust, definitely up there with any other multi-tool you'd find, and quite nicely presented. Elsewhere on the tool, obviously you've got the measuring scales there, should you need to measure anything. And for these, you can actually use them continuously, so you can get a full straight edge there, measuring from 0 to just over, well, 23 centimetres. And then on the other side, you've got that in inches, 0 to 9 inches there. It's quite useful to be able to do that straight. And then you've got a selection of locking tools. Now obviously locking tools aren't always music to our ears in the UK, because once you've got a locking blade in there, that makes this not 100% UK friendly carry, so you've got to have a reason to carry it. But starting off with the blade, very much in the tradition of the Swiss Army knife, so a very standard footprint on the blade there. Interestingly, the Spirit, the Swiss tool Spirit, which I'll have a look at another day, actually has a very different blade design. Actually, I'll quickly show that because it is worth a quick comparison. I think probably I'll do a comparison video proper, but just so you don't have to sit there guessing what I mean. That's what I mean. So almost, certainly a non-aggressive profile. I think some have described it as a butter knife, but certainly not pointed, which isn't the end of the world. You don't need to pierce much with a blade, to be perfectly honest. The really interesting thing, odd thing, is it's part serrated, which is unusual for a Swiss Army knife, and converse to what I would say was common wisdom, the serrations are on the front edge rather than the back. But we'll have a proper look at that another day, but that's just what I meant by that comment. So first of all, you've got your standard Swiss Army blade. Now the locking mechanism, I would say, was a modified back lock, and basically as you pull this piece back, access from both sides, it just raises one of these steel lock bars, which just engages in the tang of the blade. So quite a nice little simple design. Not readily modified to be a slip joint, but if you sort of, I think if you file away some of the tang on the blade, you can get it to slip rather than rely on that. Next tool up is your fairly familiar flathead, and also pry opportunity with that. Next up we have a tool which is unique. I think probably it would be fair to say entirely unique to the Swiss tool line, and initially it looks like another flathead, but it is actually sharpened on the tip there, so it's got a chisel tip. The spirit is slightly differently presented. I think it's got a sharpened edge there as well, but we'll take a look at that in another video. But it's a sharpened tip, so a little chisel, and then a couple of sharpened notches there. One a V notch and one sort of circular in profile, and that's really just to strip wires. I guess you could use it to cut a seatbelt, something like that. But quite a useful little tool. So a prodding, cutting, box opening maybe. Interesting little tool to include. Okay. Next up we've got the very familiar bottle opener, flathead screwdriver. Wire stripper there, so you force a bit of electrical cable in there, and then you can pull off the plastic outer using that notch. Obviously the form factor means these are presented further forwards, which helps with leverage a bit, and in fact you've got a nice little thumb place there to get your leverage on there. And actually a good point about this locking mechanism is that because it hasn't got the pressure of the back lock, or sorry, not the back lock, the back spring for a slip joint, these are incredibly smoothly presented, so they really come out effortlessly and very nicely. Bottle opener, small flathead screwdriver there, and the secondary use for this sharpened leading edge is to open citrus fruits, so to get through the skin there. Quite useful. And then the final tool on this side is the good old saw. It's a slightly different detail on the end there. Normally they're very rounded, but the same teeth pattern, very effective cutting, good useful length, good grip there. Maybe not as smooth as some, but certainly not uncomfortable. And that'll easily cut through a bit of wood well over an inch if you have to. Obviously if you're planning your work you'll take the appropriate tool, but these sort of tools are there to help out in a pinch, aren't they? Just before we move on to the next side, there's this funny little notch here and there, and there isn't actually anything to go in it for this particular tool, but if I pinch a piece out of the spirit set, you'll see that this is actually a little interlocking eye for the corkscrew. So that locks in there, and then you can use your corkscrew in the traditional fashion, and then that just pops back out again. I think these are available separately. So that's what that little bit's for. Okay, on to the other side. Got the file. Nice aggressive tooth pattern, very aggressive on this edge here. So you can easily cut through, say, a overhanging bolt if you had to. Then you've got what I'd call almost a glasses screwdriver, or a electrician's screwdriver. So the little grub screws you get at the back of plugs, wiring, screwing something in to a connector, that's what that's for. Then we've got the Phillips, fairly standard size, never always one size fits all, but it's not a bad size for day-to-day use. One thing that I've noticed is that normally the Swiss Army knives have a half stop on their Phillips head. This one doesn't, it's sort of got a 45-degree stop. I'm not quite sure. It's not awfully robust stop. Not quite sure what's intended by that. Okay, next tool, the good old awl. So for bodging, reaming, widening a hole in some wood, make a hole in a leather belt, that sort of thing. It doesn't have the eye in it, which some do, which helps you sort of stitch sailcloth or something like that, but that's how it's designed. And then finally, last tool, scissors. Very similar design to any scissors you'll find on a Swiss Army knife. Okay, so that's all the tools. Just for side-by-side comparison, especially as I talked about the form factor of the Swiss Champ. Yeah, my view is the Swiss Champ, if you put the pliers to one side, if you don't worry about the pliers too much, the Swiss Champ actually has more tools contained within it. And I think you'll be able to see it's actually a slightly smaller footprint all round. So I thought that was a useful comparison. I do like the Swiss tool because I like to have pliers in a sort of a work bag, but it is locking, so you need to think about when you're going to carry it. This one isn't. So yeah, just for further size comparison, there's the Alox Farmer, there's a mid-size waiter. Oh, move those over. Okay, well I hope that's useful. As I say, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment, and if you like the video, please subscribe. Check out my channel if you're into everyday carry kit, knives, tools, fountain pens, quality footwear, that sort of thing. Please check it out. I'm sure we'll share some common interests, and I'd love it if you subscribed. Okay, hope that's useful. Thank you very much. Bye bye.